we can put up with parking outside the garage for $100,000. Hello, today I am talking about how we self-publish our books. We get this question all the time, people who want to write a book and ask how we self-publish. So we have been in the book business for 23 years now. Out of those 23 years, 5 years we were with a publisher, and I would never, ever, ever recommend going with a publisher. First of all, what people don't understand is with a publisher, you get 10% of the price they sell the book for. That if a bookstore buys your book at half price, so it's a $20 book, the bookstore gets it for $10, you get $1 out of that $10 for every book sold in the store. By being self-published, I get 75% of how much I sell the book for because I have my costs and I take my costs out of it, and I get 75% of what I sell the book for. When your publisher does a special deal, like with our Dining on a Dime cookbook, when we went with the publisher, they got a special deal with Books Are Fun. It's a school, like Scholastic fair type bookstore. They sold 150,000 copies and we got 25 cents a book. So they ended up selling 250,000 copies altogether, but we only got 25 cents a book. And guess what? We still had to do all of the marketing ourselves. We were sending out the press releases ourselves. I was doing all the interviews myself. I still had to do all the marketing myself. People think if they go with a publisher, the publisher's going to do all that, and they will help you some with that, but your marketing is up to you. So if you're a YouTuber and you already have an audience, then you've already got a head start. But if you don't have any audience at all, if you don't have an email list, a website, nothing, then you're going to have to start from scratch getting all of that. Frankly, I think publishers are a ripoff, but that's my experience. I know some people, like if you're Pioneer Woman or something and just have a huge audience, or Joanna Gaines, then it's probably worth going with a publisher. But for us, definitely not. Here is how we self-publish our books. First of all, we wrote all the material ourselves. Then Mike goes in and typesets it into InDesign. That is the standard that printers use to print the books, is InDesign. But guys, don't freak out about that if you don't know how to use InDesign. You can hire someone on Fiverr or just a design company here in the United States if you want to typeset it for you in InDesign. For editing, I go through and edit it 6 or 8 times. Mike will edit it 3 to 5 times. Mom will edit it 3 to 4 times. And then we will send it to 5 to 10 of our viewers and have them edit it also. And we edit it on the computer, and then we also print it out and edit it by hand, because when you're reading it on the computer and you're reading it in your hand, you find different mistakes. Next, the printer. So we are the publisher. The printer is the company that actually physically prints the books. Now, if you're going small, let's say 5,000 or less copies, even probably you could do 10,000 here in the United States, but you can just go to a small printer. If your book is only, let's say it's a 100-page cookbook. If it's smaller, start off at Office Depot or Staples or your local printer and just have them print it. Now, it's going to cost you a whole lot more per book to print it, of course, but it's a great way to get started if you want to do that. What I would do is first have your book come out as an ebook. Sell it to your viewers as an ebook. You will find more mistakes. They will find more mistakes, and you can get those corrected before you send it to a printer. Then you can take that money, use it to fund your costs at the printer, which is usually 50% upfront and then 50% when your books are delivered. Also, I would pre-sell your books. Once you get to the final editing stages of it, I would start putting your book up for sale. That would be 3 to 6 months before it comes out. Start getting pre-sales. That will help you fund your costs of your website, and if you have to hire a designer or hire an editor or something like that, then that will help fund those costs. Then when your book comes out in an ebook, or even if you want to do it as print book, then you just go ahead and mail it to them. I always add about 2 months past the date I think it will be done. because there's always issues. Like in 2021, our books got stuck in the supply chain issue, and we thought it was going to be coming in 2 months, and it came 6 months later. They were supposed to be there in June. They were supposed to be there in July. We didn't get them until December 23rd. Yes, 2 days before Christmas, we were shipping out 3,500 orders the day before Christmas. Yeah, it was not fun. But I'll tell you why we did it in a little bit. Then next, you're going to, if you want to do a print copy, just start off with your Office Depot or Staples or local printer. Yes, it's going to cost you more per book. So let's say you're selling your book for 15 bucks and it's going to cost you $9 or $10 per book. Okay, you're not going to make as big of a profit, but it gets you started. And once again, you can see where the mistakes are. You can get those types of things fixed and get it resolved before you go into big quantities of your books being printed. Another thing with the design is people ask, oh, your pictures are so nice in your cookbook. Thanks. Guess what? We don't take them. So I will tell you, I get a lot of flack for this, for people who say, what do you mean? How do I know my recipe is going to turn out like that? Well, guys, a brownie is a brownie. So I pay $1 from a stock photo place, buy my pictures. I save myself probably 2 to 3 days worth of work and headache on each recipe, trying to make sure that the recipe's made right and then it's photographed right and all of that. It is not worth the hassle for $1. So we just get all of our pictures from a stock photo place. Because our first Dining on a Dime cookbook is almost 600 pages, we cannot possibly put a picture on every single page. So we just do it every few pages, enough that it looks like it has enough pictures, but not so many that then my book is 1,000 pages. After you have done your pre-sales and you've sold your ebooks and you take that money and then you put it towards the printing in the United States, if you want to go bigger, then you can print outside of the United States, like China or South Korea. We have printed in China. Honestly, it wasn't that great of an experience, and I really wouldn't recommend it. First of all, I don't want my products to be, frankly, funding the enemy. I know. Everything we buy is from China. I totally get that. But personally, for my business, I just have issues with that. So we have ours printed in South Korea with a printer in South Korea. We've been using them for 3 years, I think now. Really have had good success with them. Everybody says, oh, but the shipping costs. Even including the shipping costs, it is way cheaper. And I am talking like 75% cheaper to have it printed in South Korea versus the United States. So you just have to plan ahead. Go ahead and do your pre-sales. We now start our pre-sales as soon as our book is at the printer, which takes about 3 months for us to get the books. We order in quantities of 2,500, 5,000, and now 10,000. So just depending on what your needs, I think you can go as low as 500 with some of these foreign printers. So I would definitely look into it and get a quote from them. Next, how do we do fulfillment? We do all of our fulfillment ourselves. And I know people are going to say, oh, I don't have the time to do that. Let me tell you, you really need to do the numbers, okay? When we were having a fulfillment company do our books, it cost us $10 a book. By the time we paid the storage fees, there was a monthly storage fee, there was a per pallet storage fee, there was a pulling fee, and then there was a packing fee. And then we had to pay for the envelopes and all the shipping and all of that. It ended up costing us $10 for just the fulfillment part, not even the shipping. It was $13 a book at the time for the fulfillment and shipping. I sort of forgot how bad it really was until I was editing the video and Mike was like, but you didn't say this and you didn't say this. So tell them everything that we had problems with when we were having someone else fulfill it.
Yeah, well, somebody told us you need to be having somebody else fulfill your books because you're just wasting so much time fulfilling your own books. So we signed up with the fulfillment company and they quoted us a rate, and it was not too bad of a rate. And we thought it's a little higher than we really feel comfortable with, but we'll go ahead and try it anyway. And it turned out that there were a lot more fees than we anticipated. And in the end, we paid the warehouse $5,000 on top of the costs of shipping it all back to us to get ourselves out of the contract on that. Because
They basically held our books hostage.
our books were hostage. And what they did is they quoted us based on certain fees, but then once it actually came down to reality, there were fees that were showing up like a fee to pick it, and a fee to pack it, and a fee for a label, and a fee for
if it was there over 60 or 90 days.
yeah, there was a fee for storing it in the warehouse, and there was a fee if it was there for so many days, and if there was a fee if a customer called, and there was a fee if there was a return, and there was a return label and a return picking and a packing. And in the end, it cost us, on many orders, it cost us more than all of the profit on the book to pay the fulfillment company. So we were actually losing money. We were paying the fulfillment company for money that we hadn't even made on a lot of books. And we were just going thousands of dollars in the hole really fast. And that's why we decided to go ahead and ransom our books out of there. What I would say on that is we discovered that it would be better for us to fulfill our own books. And at the time, the amount of money we were making, it was worth actually doing the work ourselves. But if you're making a lot of money, it's not a problem to hire somebody to do it. Like we've hired school kids, like high school kids, and certain of the high school kids have been just really brilliant at it. And you can hire somebody to do it at your location, and it's tons cheaper than having a fulfillment company. A fulfillment company is really best for people that are making $30 million and they don't mind spending $1 million a year on shipping. But that's not us. You know, we still do really well with our income, but we don't make enough to justify throwing $1 million away on shipping.
Just last year alone, we saved $100,000 by doing all the shipping and fulfillment ourselves. Now, let me tell you, by not parking in my garage and using that as our shipping facilities, we can put up with parking outside the garage for $100,000. Okay, it is definitely worth it for us. Now, we do larger quantities of books, so that's worth it for us. If you do smaller quantities of books, of course, it's probably still worth it for you because you're not going to need as much space as we do. Now, we have been looking for a property for 5 years so that we could still fulfill our books, but we had enough room so we could get larger quantities of books and have our prices go down even more than the $2,500 we were buying. We finally found a property last year, and this is how we do our shipping. We use Shopify. I sit down at the computer, I go through and I sort my orders by price, and then I print out all the like items together. So all of our Bibles that we give away, they're all together. All our Dining on a Dime Volume 1 is all together. Dining on a Dime Volume 2 is all together. Gluten-free, dairy-free is all together. Our planners are all together. And our Volume 1 and 2 sets are all together. So now, you can probably go through on Shopify and figure out a way to do the labels easier than what I do, but when I was using Shopify's shipping system, it continually messed up, and it was a huge headache to try and go in and get refunds and that type of thing, and I finally just gave up. Now, this was 2 years ago, and they've probably figured out their process a little bit better, but I just haven't had the time. It takes me 30 seconds in order to print it out. It's not really worth the hassle for me right now to go learn it. So probably somebody's going to teach me something new, and that's fine. Go ahead if you want to, but this is the easiest system that I have found so far. Then what we do is on a weekly basis, my two boys go ahead and pre-package all of our books. Our books come from the printer in a box automatically, because it's cheaper to have them box it for us than for me to pay someone here in the United States to box them. So they already come pre-packaged in boxes, and then my boys just throw a piece of tape on it.
Hello.
Thank you. fill up a pallet. Normally our pallets are pretty high, but we just had a big sale and I haven't had the boys out there packing yet, so we're out of them now. But I mean, there will be about 300 to 400 books on a pallet already pre-packaged on a normal basis. So then after they throw the tape on there, get them loaded onto the pallets for us, Mike and I will go out after I print the labels. Every day we go out and just slap the labels on there and we throw them out for the mail lady. Now we have the best mail lady in the entire world. She brings us the totes. She picks the orders up for us. She is the best, and I know that not everyone is going to have the same wonderful mail person that we have. So you may have to take them to the post office or whatever. But let me tell you, it's better to hire someone for $15 to $17 an hour to do that for you 2 or 3 times a week. If you can't do it yourself, it's still way cheaper than having a fulfillment company do it, okay? Now, for storing the books, we specifically bought this property just to store our books so we could start ordering books in the 10,000 quantities. All right, so this is why we bought the house. Right there.
New headquarters of Living on a Dime Studios Incorporated.
And you can see here, this portion of the warehouse is totally filled up. All right, here's the warehousing facilities of Living on a Dime Incorporated. Well, technically Killiman Media Incorporated. Right there, you can see. And then you can see we have the rest over here. Right there's the studio. And that's where the rest of the books are stored. Okay, so Mike brought up a good point that we want to make really quick here. So this section here is the size of our old garage at our old house.
Yeah, we used to have just a 2-car garage that we used for the entire shipping operation and storage of the books and everything. So don't be intimidated if you've seen the full warehouse with all the books everywhere, that you probably don't need that to start out. We've just gotten to where we have so many books that we use this much space.
Yeah, we've got 44 pallets right now with over 15,000 books. And so normally we would order in quantities of about 2,500 at a time. And all of that would fit. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it does. All that would fit in a 2-car. So see, we just lined up all the walls just at our old house.
And at our old house, when it got really full, when it started to get really busy with the business, we decided it was worth parking the car outside rather than to pay the extra $800 a month or whatever it was going to be for that storage rented from somewhere else.
And also another note, at one house we did it, the very first house that we started doing this, there was no garage. And we put it in a storage shed.
Which was right across the street conveniently from that house. So.
Yeah, but back then it was what, $25 a month or something, because that was 25 years ago almost.
Yeah.
So, so it's pretty cheap. So, but it might be worth paying $4,000 to have a storage shed put on your backyard. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, so you don't have to have a giant facility to be able to do this yourself. It's easy to do in a normal. In fact, our first garage that we did it in was a 1-car garage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we put an air conditioner in there because it was like over 100 degrees in Kansas, and it was we weren't sure if the covers were going to melt.
Yeah, and we actually slid one house. We had to slide. We put a board on the stairs and we slid all the books downstairs.
Yeah, we just slid them on the board to go downstairs, and somebody down at the bottom would catch them and go put them in the room.
Well, and tell them what we do when we have to get really creative and we didn't have room to store the books. We would use it as...
We used it as furniture bases. So like underneath beds, we would use that to hold up the mattress. And we would use it as little end tables and things like that. That was when we had no money and we were really kind of desperate for space and trying to figure it out. But
and we weren't making any money on the business yet.
I think most people would have probably a garage or something, and you could do that. But really anywhere you could put it just to save your business money.
Yeah. Get creative, guys. You can do this even in a small apartment.
Yep.
I mean, that's what we did. Yeah. Our house was totally paid off. In order to get this place, we had to get a $200,000 mortgage. That will be paid off in just 2 years of savings with us fulfilling our books ourselves. And it takes us less than 30 minutes a day for us to do fulfillment. Yeah, that's all it takes is 30 minutes a day for our fulfillment. Definitely worth $100,000 a year. And that includes the boys taping all our books and getting them pre-ready for us. So 30 minutes worth of work for 4 people. I mean, that's total a day. So like the boys will spend 2 or 3 hours a week taping the books, and then Mike and I will spend 15 to 20 minutes a day doing the labels. So that's what, a half an hour, 45 minutes per day averaged that we spend doing fulfillment to save $100,000 a year. Well, slightly under. I do pay the boys for their work, just so you know. I pay the boys $15 an hour, which is pretty darn tootin' well, considering they don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to do anything. They just have to walk out to the garage and throw tape on books. But they are very hard workers, and they get in there and they get it done, and they don't dawdle. So that's why I pay them so much. If you don't have kids like I do, I would just hire someone to come in and do it for you. I think that it would still save you a ton of money over having a fulfillment company or a publisher. Also, when we have our big sales, and let's say we're selling our volume 1 and 2 together as a set for 40% off or something, then I will have the boys go in and pre-tape a whole bunch of those for our sale. So when the sale hits, there's no delay in shipping the books. We can just get in there, slap the labels on, and ship them out right away. There's no delay in waiting to get them packaged and fulfilled and all that kind of thing. People get really irritated when they have to wait a week or 2 weeks for their package to be shipped. Because we have our system down so well, unless we're out of town or something, our orders ship within 24 hours on weekdays, and people really appreciate that. We are not Amazon. We ship via media mail because we are all books, so we ship via media mail. It costs about half the price of shipping priority or first class to ship it media mail, but because we have our system down and we can get our orders out in 24 hours, our books still get there usually in 3 to 7 days, even going media mail. How do we deal with orders that have been smashed or messed up or whatever? We just suck it up and send them out again. I have tried making claims with the post office. We've tried getting insurance on every order and then making a claim through the post office. I would spend about an hour on an order that was messed up by the post office, and it's not even worth my time or even hiring someone to deal with the messed up orders. They are few and far between. I have noticed though that in the different areas of the country that we've lived in, some of the processing centers are worse than others. So like Kansas City was way worse than Denver, and Cheyenne is way better than Denver or Kansas City ever was. But I think that just has to do with the volumes. But even with the amount of mess ups that the post office did, the misdeliveries and all that, it still was not worth us paying for insurance and trying to get the post office to own up to their screw up, okay? We just count it as a business loss and just reship the books out to people when the post office has messed up. And I do ask for pictures to show the damage from the customer saying the post office damaged their book. Now, the other thing is you're gonna have to pay for return shipping on media. Now, that's the bad part of media, but for the amount of books that are returned to you because people put the wrong address in or they moved or whatever, it is still cheaper to pay for those returned books than to send it first class or priority mail. It really doesn't happen that often. And our policy is if you put in the wrong address, we do not pay to return ship your book. You will need to pay the additional postage to have the book returned to you for not having the correct address on your order. Also, for people who ordered the wrong book, They need to pay for the shipping back to us to send the book back, and then we will give them a refund, and they will need to order the correct book that they wanted. If it was on a sale or something, I will go in and give them a refund for the sale price, but they are responsible for that shipping if they ordered the wrong book. The same goes with if they just don't like the book, which has happened, I'm not exaggerating, which has happened about 5 times in 25 years. They are responsible to us for the book. And here's my mail lady now. See, she just pulls up right there. And I wave and say, "Hi, Brandy." And here is the best mail lady in the entire world. She just loves us in spite of us, don't you?
I do. I love coming here.
Especially when it's cooking day, huh?
Yes.
Because I leave all our extras for Brandy.
Yes.
And she loves it, and I have someone else to eat it, so this
Yes.
is wonderful. So I got to have another cooking day soon, don't I?
Yes, and I gotta buy new pants.
Okay, Kimmy, here's our garage. So this is the pallet of books that we get. So there's almost 500 books on a pallet. So visually you can see what I'm talking about, okay? Almost 500 books. So here's what we do. So we take the box here, we set it on this table, the boys unload the boxes and wrap a piece of tape around them. Or we take the planners and I don't know where the other, oh, here it is. Or we take the planners and we slip them in here, fold this over, and the planners go out like that, okay? Box of books there. Unload it here. Tape, well, we tape it and then we set it right here, and then they move them in stacks right here. So we have volume 1, volume 2, 1 and 2's put together, gluten-free, dairy-frees. And then we have the planners, whoops, hello. Then we have the planners right there. And then I go downstairs and just print out the shipping labels, and then we just slap one on here, stick it in the mail bucket, and then the mail bucket sits right there. That's it. And then, oh, and I forgot, we have the Bibles that we we give away the Bibles. So we have the Bibles pre-done too. That is it. And the boys filled this entire pallet here with ones yesterday in 30 minutes to give you an estimate of time. I think you can do it. It's super easy.
So as Tara was editing this, I found some statistics and we wanted to share them with you. The average self-published book sells 250 copies. The average self-published author makes $1,000 per year from their books. 33% of self-published authors make less than $500 per year. 90% of self-published books sell less than 100 copies. And we share this information with you because you don't want to be the average. This is the average. And Tara's telling you how to actually make money at it.
And we make really good money at this. We aren't even close to average. We're like probably in the top 0.02%.
It's funny because there was a point where we had sold hundreds of thousands of the books, and we saw a thing that said the most successful self-published authors sell 5,000 books. We were thinking, really? We probably sold 600,000 print books and ebooks so far, and we've definitely been able to very well support ourselves for quite a number of years. So you can be really successful doing this.
Guys, if you want to write a book or a cookbook or whatever, I would definitely look into self-publishing. Financially, it is very, very worth it. Go watch this video next. Visit us at livingonadime.com, and we will see you guys next time.